Hello. Um, Let me just fix this. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Um, Hopefully, this is close enough to the board so you could see the notes that I will be writing. So this will be a continuation of the theory that I started last week. So let me know if let me know if you could read what's written on the board, what I'm going to write on the board. So this is F. Okay, is this clear? Is it readable? Okay, anyway, this is a little bit of a review just regarding the intervals. So in a scale, we have two semitones, which are located here, and oh, there should be another note here. Okay. So here and here. So between between 3 and 4, and between oops, okay, so between the intervals of 3 and 4 and 7 and 8, there, 7 and 8 are the tonic octave. We have what we call semitones or ST. 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 So ST. Semitones. Hopefully you could read what's written on the board. Is it clear? Let me know, please. Thank you, my Yumi, Charmaine, and Mamilin blog for being here. So we already started with the tutorial this afternoon. It's about intervals. So scale between the tones 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. So how do we call again the tones 3 and 4? Hopefully you still remember them. So 3 is what we call median, and then subdominant. So between median and subdominant in a major scale, this is major scale. Oh, sorry. Major scale. Between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8, the intervals are only half a step. So between E and F and B and C, there are no black keys in between. So they're both white keys on the piano. So if I'm going to write down, draw the piano here, there. So the piano keys on the board, this is E and F. Now here, B and C. So they're only semitones because there are no black keys in between. No black key here, no, oh, sorry. There should be another one here, like that. So here, there. So E and F, this is E and F, this is B and C. So C, D, E, F, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So these are the letter names of the scale: C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, or Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Si, Do. Now, E and F and B and C are semitones because there are no black keys, or, well, I used the blue pen for this, but there's no dark key in between, no black keys in between. So they're just semitones. Why? If there's a black key in between, like C and D, then we call them whole tone. So a whole tone consists of two semitones. So one from the white key going to the black key, and then from the black key going up to the next white key. So two white keys, but there's a black note in between, or a black key in between, then you call it whole tone. So two semitones, one white to black and black to white. So a whole tone could also be between two black keys. So for example, this is F sharp and G sharp. So between these two black keys, there is a white key. So it's also a whole tone interval between F sharp and G sharp. So if this is F sharp, if this is F sharp and this is G sharp, then it's a whole tone. Okay, but for this scale, for this diagram, we don't need the sharp. So for C major scale, the 3 and 4 and the 7 and 8 are always semitones. So you have to remember that it's between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8 because it applies to all the scales. So now, if, for example, the scale starts, or the scale starts on B. If the note is B, just draw out the scale and then find the note, find the two notes, the 3rd and the 4th, and the 7th and the 8th. Then they should also be semitoned. So why do we need to know this? So remember, in C major, the key signature has no sharps, no flats. Now, we're going to apply exactly the same theory or formula to the next tone. I'm going to erase this. Let's see what happens now if we apply exactly the same formula, but this time the beginning note would be, what note do you want? Hello everyone. So let's say the note starts on E. So first thing you should do, of course, is to draw out all the notes of that particular scale. So if the scale starts on E, it always ends on the octave E. So applying the same technique, we know that in C major, or where we derive the formula from, that the third and the fourth notes are semitones and the seventh and eighth are semitones too. So now, before we, let's say for example, we don't know the key signature for E major. So let's do this. That would be like this. So what happens now? So according to the formula, the third and the fourth note should be a semitone, and 7 and 8 semitone. So now let's check if this needs to be redone. So E to F. E to F, as we said earlier, is a semitone interval. But then the formula says this should be a whole tone, because the only semitones are between 3 and 4 and 7 and 8. Therefore, what should we do? We cannot change the one on the left. It's always the one to your right. So when you change something, make sure that it's according to how you read texts and notes. So never change the one on the left. Therefore, we have to do something here to make it a whole tone. Yes, like that's very good. So we have to put a sharp. There's a sharp now. Now let's check. E to F, sharp. So now from white to a black key. But then in between there's an F natural. That's the one earlier. Without the sharp, it's F natural. Now with the sharp, you go up to that black key. Therefore, this becomes a whole tone interval. So WT. Then that's correct. So now what happens to the next interval? So now this is F sharp and then G natural. But according to the formula earlier, it has to be a whole tone. 2 and 3 should be a whole tone. But let's see, F sharp to G natural is only a semitone. So what do we do? As I've said earlier, we cannot change the one on the left or the current note. You always change the one to your right, the one on the right. So what do we do here? You cannot make this flat. Of course, it's already natural. Therefore, you have to make it 1/2 step higher again. That's why you need to put another sharp. Now, F sharp to G sharp, F sharp to G sharp here is now a whole tone. Now, G sharp to A natural. It said in the formula that it has to be semitone. So G sharp to A, G sharp to A, only semitone. Then this is correct. It's already semitone. Now, from here to here, it said, the formula says it has to be a whole tone interval. So let's check. A, this is A, and then B natural. There. So if you see, this is the white key, and then the B is the next white key. Yes, there's a note in between, which is a black key. So there's a black in between, therefore it's already a whole tone interval. Now, here, then that's correct. Now, from B to C, B to C. Oh, we have to do something here because it's actually only a semitone. We need a whole tone interval. So what do we do? Yes, you've guessed it right. It has to be C sharp. You always change the one on the right. So there. So C sharp now to D natural. So C sharp, let's go here. So C, this is C, white key. Now C sharp, there. C sharp to D. So black to white is only a semitone interval. Then this is wrong. We have to do something. Of course, you guessed it right again. Put a sharp there. Now it becomes D sharp. Now, this will tell you now how many sharps an E major scale has. So count that 1, 2, 3, 4. That's why the sharps in this key is F sharp, C sharp. I'm writing the sharps according to the order of, writing the sharps in the key signature. And then G sharp here, and D sharp. Therefore, we have 4 sharps in E major scale, and this is how you derive them. So, all the key signatures were actually based on this formula, deriving from this. So, there and there. So, all major keys or all the key signatures were based on the 3rd and 4th being semitones and the 7 and 8 being semitones. So if you're not sure of the key signature and or if you just want to test the formula, then you can again try another note. So now let's try a flat key. So for a flat key, of course, we need this F again. There. So there's a staff. So give me a key you want for flat keys. Let's just say we don't know the key signature of G flat major. This one is a little bit tricky. So the given note is G flat. Only this one has a flat. So now, what do we do? So, any guess? Of course, you need to label again the tones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, and 8. 8 is the octave. So again, you already know that the 3rd and the 4th intervals have to be 1/2 step apart from each other. Therefore, it's labeled already, both of them. We will label also 1, 2, 3, these two. 1, 2, 1, 2. Normally, at school, we also put this symbol for whole tone. So might as well write them down. So yeah, that's the symbol for WT, and that's the symbol for ST. So let's check. You spoiled it. So now only one note has a flat. What do we do? You cannot change a given note, right? Because you cannot change the current or the one to the left. Therefore, what do we do here? Because G flat to A natural, G, this is G, this is G, but it says here G flat. So from here, one step down, one step lower. So the black key to A natural. So from there, going to A natural. How many steps? 1, 2, 3. That's too much. We only need 2 steps. So from here to white, and then from white again to black. Therefore, A should move down 1/2 step. So 1/2 step to the left if you want to make it flat. Therefore, I've already said flat. So what do you do to this note? Put a flat. Okay, now it's a whole tone. Now let's see. The next problem, A flat to B. Now we move this there, so A flat to B. It's exactly the same case as earlier. So A flat to B, 3 half steps again. Therefore, the B should go down 1 half step. Yes, you guessed it right, another flat. So this time we need a semitone interval because this is the third and that's the fourth tone. So let's check. This is B flat to C natural. So B flat is here. B flat, the black key, to C natural. C natural is the white key here. Oops, too much. We only need 1 half step. So from B flat to C, it's already a whole tone interval. Therefore, the C, well, this is always a question back then during my college days. Why can't we just write B natural instead of writing a C flat there? Well, they're anharmonic because they actually sound exactly the same, C flat and B natural, but it will not be a scale right if you have 2 B's and there's no C. So the right thing to do is just to write a flat sign there. You cannot change this to B and then put a natural sign because you'll have 2 B's and no C. Therefore, that's the answer. You have to utilize what notes are written here. So B to C flat, B flat to C flat is now a semitone interval. So that's correct. So exactly the same problem. Now, if you look at the rest there earlier, so C flat and harmonic is B to D natural. Oops, I need to put the D here. So C flat to D natural, 3 steps again. So 1, then to the black, and then to white. That's the D. So we need to lower that note. Therefore, put a flat there. Now, from D flat is the black key, or let's go here. D flat to E natural. So D flat to E natural there. So D flat to D, 1 step. D to D sharp, another step. And then D sharp to E. 3 semitones. That's not right. Therefore, you have to change this one. Of course, you have to change the E. Make it E flat. Now, E flat to F. Is this right? It has to be whole tone. So E flat, so from black to white, 1 half step, and then E to F. Correct. That's correct. So we don't need to do anything there anymore. Now, there is another problem here because F to G natural is a whole tone interval. Of course, we'll just have to put a flat here. And the faster way to do it is if the first note has a sharp or a flat, of course, the 8th note or the last note of the scale, since it's the same note, you just have to copy what's written on the first. If it's a sharp, put also a sharp there. If it's a flat, put a flat also to the last note. So now, since these 2 notes are the same, it's just an octave apart, then we don't actually count the last flat. So how many flats does G flat key signature has? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 flats. So Carl is a pianist, so he's too advanced for this one. But anyway, this is how you derive the key signature from the given formula. So always remember 3, 4, 7, 8 semitones. The rest whole tones. So now, how do we write the key signature? So there's no space. I'll just write a very small staff here, just for writing the key signature down. So there, for the key signature, because we need to supply 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it starts here, B, and then E, and then A, and then D, and G, and lastly C. See the order? Down here it's B, A, G. Here is E, D, C. But the order of writing them down is going zigzag. So it goes here, up, down, up, down, up. And of course, the last one, if there's any for the C sharp, C flat right here, the one here, so B, A, G, and then F. But for this one, you don't need that because we only need 6 flats. So I hope this is not that difficult. So do you want another example? Can you write down your answer, please? Hopefully this is not too difficult now, because last time, I think, I gave you a very advanced. Well, I thought that was actually very basic. So, okay, so another example. Let's see. If you have your music notebooks with you, you can also try this. Hopefully you do. Okay, so what should be the starting note? What note do you want to start with? Let's say B. Okay, so B here. That's your first note. B, that's C. Okay, so let's label the intervals 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, octave. Okay, so also, if you remember last week, I always write down a degree sign here for diminished 7, but today no need for that because we're not dealing with chords. Okay, it's just the basic scale. Only the scale is given, no superimposition of thirds. So you don't need to write the degree symbol here for the diminished sign. Okay, so 3 and 4, you have to be quick. Find your 3 and 4s. And then the rest, oh, sorry. There, here, here. Okay, let's check now. So whole tone, semitone. Okay, so P is the starting note. That's the tonic. Therefore, let's add a B here. Easier. And then there's a half a black key there. So now, B to C natural is what kind of interval? It has to be whole tone. But then for this case, B is here. That's B. And then right beside it, the neighbor tone is already C. So we have to do something because B to C, the interval is only a semitone. So we need the C to go up to the next key, which is a black key. Therefore, we will add here a sharp. So B to C sharp now becomes a whole tone interval. So now from C sharp to D natural, C sharp to D natural, only half step. Therefore, you have to do something to the note on your right. So there. So once that is raised half a step, so the D becomes sharp, then the interval here, C sharp to D sharp is now a whole tone interval. So next, ST, let's check if there's already semitone. So D sharp is this one, the black key, going to E. That's right, it's already half a step. Now, from E to F natural. E to F has to be whole tone, but here it's only a semitone because E to F are just both white keys, they're just neighbors. So the E should kick the F to the next, the higher ground. So this should become F sharp. So here E to F natural to F sharp to make it whole tone. The same here, F sharp to G is only half a step. If it's only half step, then you have to make the one on the right sharp. Now it's a sharp, therefore F sharp to G sharp becomes whole tone. So G sharp to A natural is only half a step, so semitone. But the formula says you have to make it whole tone, or it has to be a whole tone interval. Therefore, G sharp to A natural and again to the next black key on the right. So A sharp there. Now let's check. A sharp to B. A sharp. So this is A sharp to B. It's just the semitone. So therefore that's already correct. So now let's count how many sharps there are in the B major scale. Why B major? Because your starting note is B. B natural. So B major scale. Let's count the sharps, all the red sharps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how do we write down the key signature? Again, this is the first note that needs to be sharp. So F sharp, C sharp. So F sharp, C sharp, and then G, it's there, and then D, which is here, and then what's missing? A. You cannot put A up there, it would be too high. So put it down there. So the order, when you write down the sharps in B major, F sharp, C, G, D, and then A. Okay, is this getting clearer now? Hopefully. So I don't know if we need another example for this. Yeah. Hello, Miss Leslie. So I'll erase this now. So hopefully you all got that. Now let's go back to the previous lesson. So the formula last time that I gave you was, this is about the major, the minor, the diminished, and the augmented intervals or chords. So if you still remember, major is major third plus perfect fifth interval. Okay, so I'll just do a quick review of this one, and then minor is minor third plus perfect fifth. Diminished is minor third plus diminished fifth. Oh, it should be 5. And then major third plus augmented fifth. There, so plus some. So now, if you remember, that's what we did last time. So let's look here. Now, maybe you could easily understand this today. So let's see. If the lowest note is E, we need major third. So this becomes the tonic. So in E major scale, the G has a sharp. To make it major third, automatically we have to put a sharp there. So that interval here becomes major. Okay, are you still with me? Hopefully. And then key signature of E major, the D is natural. So this one is major third, and this one is perfect fifth. Now, what happens? So, questions so far before I continue? Any questions? So, none. Okay, so if the third note there, the note in between, becomes natural, if that's natural, actually no need to write it. So just leave it be. No need to write natural or short. So there, what happens to the interval? This becomes a small letter M. So small minor third. This is now minor interval. Recap. Major with a sharp earlier, the middle note. Now it becomes minor because the third note went down 1/2 step lower. So the interval here became minor third, but the fifth remained perfect because we did not do anything, we did not touch it. So now, what happens if we lower down the fifth note? Let's see. If we put there flat, that means this becomes a diminished fifth. Therefore, minor third plus diminished fifth gives you a diminished interval. So let's recap. Earlier, major, there's a sharp here, and the B is just natural, B natural. And then minor, the sharp went down to natural. So we left it like that, but the fifth is still a natural B. So it's a minor. But now, this is a minor third, and then the fifth went down 1/2 step. Therefore, we call it diminished interval. Now, let's see. The same interval, but let's begin again from the major. So again, this is a major third, and this one is a P5. So what happens if the fifth goes up? It says here 1/2 step higher, making it a sharp here. What happens? I have to put it away. So, okay. So if the B becomes a sharp, then the perfect fifth becomes augmented fifth. Therefore, the interval will be called augmented interval or augmented chord. So augmented is major third there plus augmented plus 5. So then augment, sorry, and then plus augmented fifth, or let's just say augmented fifth, not August 5. So there. So this is actually just the recap of the lesson last week, this portion. Okay, so any questions so far before I continue? We're still having problems here. You need to know this by heart. If you want to analyze chords in the future, you have to know this. You have to memorize this by heart. That you should be able to tell a chord right away just by looking at them, just by looking at the intervals. But if you don't know this or you don't memorize it, then it will be very difficult. I will have to erase this now because we'll have to begin again with the chords, the simple chords. But this time, with a little bit of inversions. So there are different types of inversions. The first inversion, second inversion, and third inversions. So sometimes we see a chord, but then cannot really tell if the note is, let's say, for example, an A minor or E or something. So now let's create a chord first. Of course, the easiest or the most basic, the foundation of all the chords, the C major chord. Okay, so of course that is the first note. That is the 1. This is 1, and then 3 and 5. So now maybe there's a question already. Why do we call them 1, 3, and 5? Simple. Based on the scale, this is your third note, and this is the fifth note. This is the median, which is the third, and that is the fifth or the dominant. So they're 1, 3, 5. But you don't need to write them down actually, but just for teaching purposes, I have to write them down. So you always have to know the key signature of the 1 or the lowest note, the note at the bottom. Okay, you have to know the key signature. So if the chord is written this way, no sharps, no flats. But what type of chord is this? Then you have to know that this is not based on C major, but there is something here. So let's analyze. So the lowest note is B. So what key signature are we going to use? There are no flats nor sharps. But since the lowest note, the number 1 here is P, then it has to be the key signature of B major, 5 sharps. And in B major, the third and the fifth, they both have sharps. But in this case, there are no sharps, no flats. So what's happening here? Let's analyze. So B, and then D natural and F natural. First, let's analyze this, and then this. Now, B to D natural, we said earlier that this should have a sharp because the key signature for B is F, C, G, D, and A. So both F and D have sharps. Therefore, D is lower than D sharp. So this one from major went down 1/2 step. So, are you still with me? So this is now minor third. And then, let's check. The key signature for D major, don't get confused. You don't see it here. But we're basing it on the first note, the bottom note. The D major chord or key signature has 5 sharps, and F is the first one that should have a sharp. But then here doesn't have any. Therefore, from perfect fifth, it went down. Instead of F sharp, what's written here is natural. So it went down 1/2 step. Therefore, this is a diminished fifth. So, still remember the formula? I just erased it. Yes. So now you have minor third plus diminished fifth. Therefore, you call it B diminished. Yes, B dim. That's correct. And then, so, let's remove that now. Hopefully it's getting easier. Now, let's check this. Now, if I invert, because I said earlier, inversions. So, if the note you would, if the chord you would see is like this, how will you analyze this? So, this is E, G, and C. To analyze the chord, you would always have to rearrange them if they're not in order. It has to be a superimposed third. So, meaning the note on top is always a third. So, from here, from C to E. Now, from E to G, that's also a third. But here, let's see. The case is, this is E to G, that's a third. It's fine. But here, from G to C, it's not a third. G, A, B, C, that's a fourth. Therefore, maybe it's not in the root position. So now we call this the root position, this chord. So the first one here is in root position. Now, we have to, if you see chords like this scattered, not superimposed as thirds or superimposed thirds, then you'll have to rearrange them so that you would know the key signature. So now let's see. This is C. It's actually that one. So when the lowest note is the third, see here, E, E. If the lowest note is the third, then we call it first inversion. This is an inverted C major chord. And look where the note was placed. So it was thrown up there. So E, G, and then C. It's still C major chord. But then the lowest note now is the third. Now what happens if this time we throw up the E to its octave? So place it up there. This is confusing. Okay, so G, C, and E. Now G to C, of course, it's not the third because it's an inversion. So we call it, it's just called second inversion, simply like that. Okay, so that's the root position, first inversion, and then second inversion. Now, if we have another note on top of this one, let's say, for example, you like to play a seventh chord. So 1, 3 is the seventh chord. First inversion, second inversion. Now you have another one here. We put now the second. We'll have to add the B should still be here. So the B is there. Here the B should still be there. So here E, and then G, D, and then C. then G, B, C, and E. Now, the bottom note would now be this one, and then, of course, the C is there, and there. So this is called the third inversion. Are you still with me? First inversion, second inversion, third inversion. Still with me? So, okay, let's test. Let's test your knowledge. Okay. 5 lines. I'll give you this. Okay, so who could guess what chord is this and in what position or in what inversion? If it's inverted, so type down your answers on the chat box. So what is this? Analyze, so G sharp, B, D sharp, and then E. Answers on the chat box. E second inversion. Well, it's incomplete. Yes, this is E major 7 second inversion, but you can always write it down as, yeah, but actually, we can put here a 2 because it's a second inversion. So E and 7 2 for second inversion. Because, I actually forgot to tell you, if it's the first inversion, no, wait, this is the tonics, it's just 1. And then first inversion is 6, tonic 6, and then second inversion is tonic 6 4. Why tonic? It's just the first note, so tonic 6 4. And then if there's a 7, of course, it will become different. Here, this will become tonic 6. 6 5, and then here it's tonic 1 2 3 4 2. These are just tonics. So earlier, the answer for this one, normally in theory, you don't write E major 7. You just put here tonic 4 2. Then you know that it could be applied to any chord, whether it's E, whether it's A, B, C, D, E, F. So if it's applied, it could be applied there. Therefore, you would already know. So once in the future, once I tell that what is the tonic six of A major, you should be able to tell me. So what's the tonic six of A major? So C sharp, E, A. The order is always from the bottom up. So what is the tonic six for C flat major? Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. This is 6/5. It's only second inversion, so it should be 6/5. So in the future, if I say tonic six of F major, what's the answer? Should be A, C, and then F. What is the tonic 6/5 of F major? Then it would be A, C, E, and then F, because the 5 there denotes the fifth. Oh, the seventh. Sorry. Okay, so these are the ones for the inversions. So why do we need to know them? Because when you're reading music, when you're practicing something, there are always chords, of course, especially if you're a pianist, or of course if you're also playing more advanced pieces. Well, even the easier ones, they're always part of a chord. So if you're playing like the twinkles, so if it twinkles on C majors. So there. Those are the notes in C major. Well, why are they in C major? Because C, the lowest note there, that's their fifth. There's a missing third, but you can easily tell that it's C major because there's just the one missing. Well, the third you can just put in your accompaniment. And then here, what part of the chord should this be? And then there again. So this is always part of the chord. So it could be that this could be the third of what note could that be if there's a C there? So if you supply F and C, then you already have an F major chord. Here, the first bar, actually, there's just a missing E here. For the rest, that is already a C major chord. And then here, since F does not have a G, then it must be part of a C major chord. So what's missing here and there? So in arranging, you can just supply those chords to accompany your twinkles. Or if you want to make it more complex, then perhaps you might want to use G instead. So you just supply the missing notes. So in the future, I will teach you also how to supply the chords for your chord progression so that when you're arranging something, you already know where to go from one chord to another, because there's a basic rule how you could travel from one chord to the next and how to go back and on. But you have to know by heart first what I'm teaching you, because this is very important. Inversions, and then the chord earlier, how to analyze them for major, minor, augmented, and diminished. Always review them. So memorize them by heart. In the future, I will give you an exercise like I would put a melody here, and then you would try to guess what chord you could supply for accompaniment. So also in the future, I will give you like a simple melody. Let's say, okay, so if you have a melodic line like this, theory-wise, you should be able to arrange it like SATB or soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. So how would you do that? You will have to supply the missing notes. So these are the key notes that you have already. So they have to be part of the chord. They could be the first, the third, or the fifth, or the seventh of a chord. So it's up to you. Only then will you know how to arrange this once you've memorized everything that I've taught you. So for this one, perhaps this one is in C major. So you can add different voices. So maybe you would want your alto to be E, and then your tenor C, and then, or this could be the bass also, and this could be the the tenor, because instead, or oh sorry, this is the alto, and this could be two voices. So bass and tenor could be both singing a C there. So C major chord. So given is the soprano melody, so you have to supply the rest. So here, since it moved, maybe the C went to another chord. Where could that be? It could be A. So now the voicing becomes like that, and then here. So from A, then you have a D here. So maybe the voices would be better if it's like this, and let's say a lower D here. That's one more line. So for the bass, there, lower D, and then here, the alto and tenor, and then another D there. Could be the same chord, or maybe you want to change it. It could, you could go to, just G major. So, and then D, and then D. And then here, G, we could go back to C. So C, and then bass could be a G, and then those two notes, and then you add on C, alto and soprano, and then fill. Bass could be B, or it could be alto C, C, and then tenor, and then bass would be low, too much. Yeah. So something like that. But um, you can only supply the chords once you know the chord progression, where the chord should go from this point to the next, and from here to there. So how you progress from here. So the chord here, C, and then what is this? This one should be a F. sorry, this should be F. So that's F, and then we went up to, and then D minor, C, F, D minor, and then G, and then C, C. Or it could be G. Yeah, up to you. You can also change that according to your preference. You can actually start this one. This could be a seventh chord. This could be a third. This could be the tonic. So it's all up to you. You have a given melody. If you're an arranger, you have to decide um, what chord you're going to use. But of course, the key is already given. There's always one note that belongs to a chord. Well, generally. So, are you still with me? Um, any questions? Sorry, the last part's a little bit tricky. It's not for this level yet. Questions so far? If no more, then we'll have to end this session for today. Questions? No more questions? No questions? Okay, so hopefully we will review this because it will get more difficult once, yeah, once you know this by heart. And yeah, it will get more exciting too because in the future I'll be giving a lot of exercises that will really rack your brains off, and then yeah, you will be able to arrange your own music. So yeah, so then I'll say thank you then, and I will see you next week. So, see you next week, same time. We'll continue about this theory thing. Okay, bye. You can always view a replay of this video. Bye, everyone.